You know, it's hard to believe how quickly the school year goes by. Doesn't seem that long ago that we started a brand new school year, and here we're approaching the winter break, and around the corner when we get back will be the half-year point. I think certainly school years bring lots of changes, and we're used to that, but there have been significant changes this school year with Common Core fully implemented in K through 2, blended 3 through 12 in reading, language, arts, and math, implications in vocabulary for social studies and science, and all the other myriad of changes of technology changes, new materials, instructional materials, new ways of accessing delivery of instruction through web-based programs. All those changes bring stress to the learning environment, and I think so many of you do so well navigating through those many changes so students really get the benefits without seeing all the stress perhaps behind it. Some of those stress factors, though, and the changes we see up ahead was a real big discussion point with the superintendent's meeting this past week. Superintendents across the state are concerned that although we believe that having more rigorous standards are important for our students so that they can be competitive in the workforce of tomorrow, it also is important that we look at the support structures that are available to support the transition to that change. And our concern is that we're on a path that is expecting change too quickly without adequate supports. So what has been recommended, and it's only a recommendation, is that there be a slower transition to that Common Core with all the new assessments and the new accountability requirements. And that we really look at the next 3 years as part of that transition period, perhaps implementing 3rd grade next year, 4th grade the following, 5th grade fully implemented, with that year after 5th grade being K-12. But certainly that may not be the viewpoint of the state board and legislators. But we're also looking at the assessment to be a little bit of a slowdown. Perhaps next year being a field test of the new assessment, of which we have not yet have identified. And then the following year looking at the standards and finally setting the standards the year after that. It would also mean that the accountability system would have to perhaps go in abeyance for a short time as we work through some of the issues of a brand new assessment. The concern is when you put high stakes decisions on a very quick transition, there can be flawed implementation. And what really concerns us is that that can impact students that are relying on meeting certain requirements for promotion from 3rd grade or even receiving a diploma. We owe it to our students to do this right. And if it takes more time, perhaps, hopefully the legislature will see the value of that. So there's been some discussions about that. Common Core changes are also some tweaks. Look like that's going to move forward. That would be presented to the state board probably in January, and then they go through a process to vet that and get public input as well. But I do believe that the course for the implementation of Common Core as the standards that Florida will adopt, given their own tweaks to that, I think that will begin to move forward. So some of that conversation you'll see play out, particularly during the legislative session. And also, we've had at our most recent board workshop, a presentation by the Financial Advisory Committee. The Financial Advisory Committee is made up of members of our community that have different areas of expertise in law, in accounting, in business practices. They give oversight to the financial operations of the school district, including how we're spending our referendum dollars, how we're spending that quarter-cent sales tax that go into the capital budget for renovations, the borrowing that the district has done for some of those renovations. They look at all aspects of financial management. And they present to the board as an independent body what their findings were. That presentation was very positive. They looked at the return on the investments that they believe can be associated with the way we spend our money in terms of our student achievement accomplishes, in terms of our school grade, the proficiency rates on FCAT, SAT scores, all of that in comparison of what we looked like in 2001, the year before the first referendum, and what we look like now, and the considerable improvements despite elevating those levels of rigor in the standard expectations. Despite that, we've been able to attain very high levels in the state, both the state comparisons and national comparisons when you're looking at SATs. And I really credit the quality of our teachers and our workforce in general for those accomplishments, and they do as well. But they have been able to assure the board in a very public, visible way that we're spending our money in ways that do impact student achievement. If you would like to see that PowerPoint, it is available on our district website, so you can get a glimpse of that report as well as seeing it on the educational channel live. And finally, we will be hearing more and more about the referendum extension. In January and February, there'll be a lot of discussion in terms of making sure the voters are educated on what that means to our school district, what it gives at every school in terms of the staff members that we use those funds to supplement. So critical, that approximately $40 million that we get every year as part of our overall general operating budget. But the real critical piece is make sure families and staff members are registered to vote, must be registered by February 24th, and certainly that you would vote on March 25th. And our focus will be how can we educate our community once again about the value of that additional tax revenue that really allows us to do some things that can't be accomplished at every school district based on the revenues that we receive from the state. And as we approach that winter holiday, I do hope you take some time to step back, enjoy family and friends, but also take care of yourself. I think we all work in an environment that has continuous pressure, and I find that all staff members are giving people. I think we attract that type of individual in our organization. You give all the time to students, to your fellow staff members, to the work, because that's your focus. But sometimes there needs to be a point at which you give to yourself, and you take the time to rest and to fill up all that energy again so that when the new year begins, that you're ready to go and we can have a wonderful ending of this school year. Thank you for all you do and have a very restful, enjoyable holiday break.